Good morning, everyone. My name is Caitlin Adams. I am a Sage Intacct consultant here at DSD. I have been implementing Sage Intacct for a little over 3 years now. Um, but I used to be on the client side, so I actually underwent an Intacct implementation. And so basically, I have been in your shoes. I've seen the product work in real life, and that's why I wanted to host this webinar on what is really my favorite part of Intacct and something that really helped me and my organization from the data processors all the way up to C-level leadership, make our jobs more efficient, and that is dashboards. So let's go ahead and get started. So before we go any further into the webinar, I wanted to give you an easy reference for what the icons mean in dashboards that we are going to create and see in today's webinar. This image is available in the Help Center if you search dashboard icons. So this is something that you can pull up directly from Sage Intacct, or you can reference this webinar in the future for them. I also wanted to give you a reference page for how to grant permissions to dashboards. On the left side of the screen is how you grant overall permissions to dashboards, aka how it shows up in your drop-down menu. A couple of important reminders about the permissions for dashboards. Unless a user needs to make changes to a dashboard, you only need to give view permissions. You must have permissions to access the dashboard and have the appropriate permissions to view the information displayed on the dashboard. So for example, if a dashboard contains like a vendor list view, but you don't have access to view vendors, you will not be able to see that component on the dashboard. And a reminder that you must have permission to view dashboards, but you also have to have permissions to the actual dashboard itself. Each individual dashboard has its own permissions. So permissions to view individual dashboards lie within those specific properties. In our demonstration, you're going to see I have a lot of dashboards available, but within your company, a user may not need access to all those, only a couple, so you can make sure that the appropriate users have the appropriate access to the dashboards that they would need. So let's talk about things. Without dashboards, most companies face two big issues that cause major inefficiencies in their daily workflow. Whenever it's time to analyze financial data, they're jumping from report to report to gain meaningful metrics on those reports. They answer some questions with balance statements, cash flow statements, even sales reports. You have to export all of those reports out, crunch the numbers into spreadsheets, get some key performance metrics. And then by the time you've done all of that, it's been exported and crunched. The data is no longer current. It's as out of date as the time it took you to do all of those steps to get it in the shape to present that information. Another issue is in Intacct, we have a bunch of modules. So you're having to jump from menu to menu. So if an employee has multiple job duties, such as approving expenses, adding journal entries, needing to view those types of reports, that sort of thing, you're jumping around everywhere. So a dashboard is a way to look at current data in one place that can be analyzed on the fly. It's something that allows you to do your daily tasks for your job, no matter how spread out they are in Intacct's modules, and really see those reports that you need in one central screen with real-time updates. And like I said, this brings us to dashboards. The promise of a dashboard is that you have all of that current information in one place. It's going to gather your reports, your charts, your metrics into one single view. It's more than just having current reports and charts at your fingertips. You can include information you need for the task at hand because they are completely customizable. If your role is to manage expenses, you can create a dashboard focused on those metrics. If you're the CFO and you require a dashboard with that 30,000-foot view of the company, you're able to drill down into the details behind those metrics and those summaries without having to go track down multiple managers who then have to go ask their employees. We all know how this feels, how it works. It's time consuming and it's inefficient. The idea is to create a dashboard for your company that functions as a tool to accelerate and inform and become more efficient. So far, I've just been setting the stage. As you can see from this image and the previous image before, dashboards can be jam-packed with different types of information, from revenue analysis, budget comparisons on here. There's location analytics, key metrics shown by performance cards, everything you need on one screen. And Like, we can't lie. It's really pretty to look at, right? So now I'd like to get into showing you what a dashboard is and how we use and build them in the software. You're going to see how they are fully customizable, how you can create dashboards from scratch, use a current dashboard as a template, or even edit a current dashboard that you have. There, as you can see, there are many types of dashboards, and there's many types of components that truly make them one of the most powerful tools in Sage Intacct. So let's go ahead and let us hop into our dashboards here, into our environment. So the first thing that I wanted to cover was permission. So you need to have access. So based on whether your company is a role-based permissions or user-based permissions, it does not matter. Everything will reside under the company permissions, whether you're editing those under the roles or users. In this environment, I am in a role-based system. So if I wanted to make sure that my project managers have access to dashboards, I'm going to go to the subscriptions and I'm going to go to the company permissions here. A fun fact, if you don't like scrolling and like trying to find where everything is, I can search for dash and it will bring me right to dashboards by hitting the Control F on my keyboard and using that find function. And here I can see that all of my project managers are able to list and view. So that means that it is showing up on their drop down menu. They're also able to add, edit, and delete their dashboards. Again, you don't necessarily have to give, add, edit, and delete permissions, but in able to view dashboards, you at least need these first two. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of here, and let's go to our dashboards list view. So you can find this by navigating to dashboards from your menu and clicking the dashboards. And here is my dashboard list view. You'll see the title of your dashboards and of course the description. You're going to see how to put in all of this information at the dashboard settings. But you'll see here that I have some that have like general in front of it, outcomes. These are folders for dashboards. From this menu, one way to further organize your dashboards is to put them into folders. So you can see from the list or from the list view where those are, but it breaks them down on your menu item here. If something doesn't have a folder, it will just pop up on this list like this 01 permissions example here. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the permissions for individual dashboards. Again, like I said, permissions reside at the dashboard level. So if I were to edit a dashboard here, you'll see I have some tabs up here at the top. If I go to permissions, this is where I'm able to edit the permissions for the dashboard itself. So, and in my example here, I have denied everybody in the system access to the dashboard because I want to make sure only specific people have access to this dashboard. I want Emma to have access to it, so she's one specific user. And then I also am able to give a group of users, so using that user group functionality in Intacct, a group of users. So as soon as I create a new user and I assign them to this group, I don't have to do a lot of management and just adding individual users. I highly recommend using user groups whenever talking about permissions to dashboards. While I'm in my dashboard properties here, let's go ahead and talk about these other tabs that we have here. This is where I'm able to edit the title and the description on that list view. We saw that description, so it can further give you more information about that dashboard. I can determine how many columns I want to see on my dashboard. We'll see what this looks like in a little bit and what this flexible width column, if I want one or not. I can also change the color of the dashboard, the background color of dashboards. This is very useful. If you have similar dashboards and you immediately want to identify which dashboards you're using, highly recommend using the color. I also wanted to point out here that for the columns, we do best practice is 2 columns for use on mobile devices. So since Intacct is a web-based software, you can pull it up on your cell phone or iPad, and on mobile devices, 2 columns just shows up a lot better than the 3-column options for dashboards. If I wanted to put this into a grouping, This will, again, put it in that little dashboard folder from the menu there. And then I also wanted to point out the filters tab. So the filters tab are filters that are going to show at the top of the dashboard. You'll see what that is in just one moment. Highly recommend putting an as of date and a location at a minimum. If you have other dimensions that you want to filter your components of your dashboard by, you can select those here at the dashboard properties. So now that we've gone over that, let's go ahead and view what a dashboard looks like. So here is a role-based dashboard for the controller. Up here at the top are those dashboard filters that we saw on the dashboard properties. I'm able to filter by date, by location in this instance. If I wanted to clear any filters and see this for all of my entities put together, I could click that button there and clear those filters. I can also add components to this dashboard. So this is, how I'm going to edit it. These items on my dashboard are the components. If I were to select this dashboard settings, it would bring me back to that screen we were just at. And you can see here that I have a 3-column dashboard with that flexible width column in the middle. What that means is that this is like a little bit wider than these two. It's not splitting them evenly across 3. It's going to fit it so that you can better see that data on your dashboard. This double paper icon here is how you can clone a dashboard or duplicate the dashboard. So if I really liked this dashboard and I wanted to make my own version, but just change up a couple of things and not change it for everybody in the system, I can clone this dashboard and make any changes and make that dashboard just for myself, right? Because I can deny access to everybody in the system and just have it for myself so that I can make any changes that I wanted to. This print icon here is going to open a printable view. If there is somebody that loves paper in your company, we all know one, you're able to print out this dashboard for them and give it to them. It keeps all of the color, all of the charts and things. It's very, very pretty whenever it prints out as well. Let's talk about a couple other things that we'll see on our dashboard. So up here, if you hover over a filter icon, you'll see what this component is filtered by. So this is filtered from the settings at the top of the dashboard, those filters up there. I'm also able to refresh any of the information on here. So say, for example, I went in and I added an expense that falls within this account group. I'm able to refresh this and in real time see that happen before the refresh rate of the dashboard. I'm also have another little gear icon on the individual components. These are the settings for each component. We're going to go over the settings for the individual components, but you are able to edit the components on the fly if you needed to. This will apply system-wide though. So any changes that you make on a dashboard are going to apply to everybody within the system. So be careful of who you're giving permissions to edit dashboards. The trash can is what you think it is. It means it will delete the component. This makes it great because if you put something on there and you hate the way it looks, it's very easy to get rid of. But again, just be very careful of who you're giving edit permissions to. Up here at the top, these are our performance cards. These allow you to drill down into GL account groups behind the metric that you're seeing here visually. There is an exception to this. We're going to see this whenever we build out our own dashboard. But if you do have calculated account groups, something like revenue per employee, there is no way to directly drill down into that. Although it is easy enough to include performance cards for those account groups that go into the calculation and drill down on those. I'm going to show you an example of that, so don't you worry. Over here in the middle, we'll see that I have a report and it brings up a new icon, and that is the pencil icon, which is edit. One of the powerful tools of dashboards is that this will reduce the amount that you are going around in your menus. You can do everything you need to do in Intacct from a dashboard if that component is there. So I can edit this report in the Financial Report Center without having to go through the menus, go to the financial reports, find it on the list, hit the edit button, do all that. I can do it with one click of the button. This will edit the report for everybody in the system. So you do need permissions to edit reports and all of those things. But again, be very careful of who you're giving access to edit the dashboards. But you can edit a report if that is in your job tasks. You're able to do that. Another one that we see here is the magnifying glass. This allows you to further open up any of these components. So I can open up this report and I could, print it as a PDF for that person that needed the printing. If I had some journal entries that needed to be approved, I would see them over here on my dashboard. I can click that magnifying glass and go directly to start approving journal entries. Again, the power of dashboards. I can open up reports. I can open up approvals. I can open up list views, checklists, all of the things from one screen. It's popping it up into a pop-up window, and I'm never having to leave the screen. So it's super inefficient, or super efficient, I'm sorry. Then last thing I wanted to point out are the blue highlights, the links here. This is allowing me to drill down from that 30,000 foot view into the details of any of these metrics. So for example, my operating and maintenance expenses, if I pop that open, it's going to bring me to the general ledger report. Maybe I'm looking, maybe I'm looking at that report and I'm like, why am I over budget here? So I can drill down into the GL and I can say, I can look into these and eyeball see what's going on here. And I can drill down all the way into the bills that make up that item. From here, I can see that I have a Spotify. I'm like, why am I paying Spotify? Much less, why am I paying Spotify $840? Who's listening to that much music? I could drill down into that. Whenever I drill down in there, if there is an attachment, I could open up that invoice copy or that receipt copy if it existed, and I can see that it's actually for marketing and advertising. Okay, we're marketing on Spotify. I'm not mad about it anymore. Again, all directly from my dashboard with just a few clicks. So now we know why dashboards are powerful. I can edit this dashboard. If I simply hover over, I'll see the 4 arrow icon pop up. I can drag and drop these around. Again, this will affect this entire dashboard. So if you want to clone this dashboard and edit it to make it to the way that you like it, you are able to do that. But let's go into how to create a dashboard from scratch. This is a very powerful tool. And it's super quick and easy. I'm going to show you in just a few minutes how to do it. So if I go to my dashboards menu and I click the plus icon, what you'll see here is that it's going to give me those initial dashboard properties. So I'm going to just the webinar example. I could put in a description. I'm going to do 2 columns with a flexible column width on the right. And I'm going to choose purple because I love the color purple. I could drop this into a group and I can choose it as a default dashboard. I'm going to choose what filters I want. I want a location filter and a department filter, and then permissions. I'm going to deny everybody. I'm making this just for myself. So I can save that example there. And I'm going to refresh my screen here. And you'll see I have O2 webinar example, except I hit refresh and I did not have to. From here, I can view my components. I don't have any components on this dashboard yet, and this demo actually lives in the past. So I'm going to go ahead and set my filters up here at the top and apply those filters. That way it will automatically apply to all the components that I add. So whenever I add a component, it seems like a short list for the component type. I only have 6 different types. That is wrong. Each component type has multiple things that I can go from it. Let's start at general because that's what it automatically goes to. As you can see here, I have quite a few options. The first thing I wanted to show you is a close through summary. So maybe I want to see what I have, which of my modules are closed and for which entities. So I can choose to show this as collapsed or expanded. I'm going to let you know what that means here in a minute. And then I can choose the summary view or the entity view. So I want to know by entity which of my modules are closed. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save here. And you'll see that this showed as collapse. Now, if I expand it out, I'll have all of my entities, what date they are closed. And if I knew I needed to close the general ledger for entity 100, I can go ahead and do that directly from the dashboard. Another component that I really enjoy is the attachment container component from the general. So for attachments, you are able to add multiple attachments to a container, if you will. So important documents. The example that I like to use is if there are documents that your employees have to reference often, you can add them to an attachment ID. So if I view this, you'll see that I have 2 files in this attachment. You can have as many as you would like. If I needed to add one, I could edit that component and just drag and drop that file over there, but I have that attachment ID and I can hit save. And from here, it will add those attachments directly to there, and the employees can just view important attachments directly from their dashboard. Another thing that I really like that I find useful is a calendar. I don't like to have to get out of Intacct very often, so I can add a calendar directly to my dashboard. From here, I can see my calendars. I don't like scrolling. Who likes to scroll? I can edit that component directly from the dashboard and change the height to maybe 180. You can play around with it, hit save, and then all of a sudden I don't have to scroll that much. I can see my whole calendar right there. Another type of component that we can add are charts. So there are different types of charts. You can choose a financial chart as well as any custom charts or memorized charts. If you make a custom chart and you built and memorized it, you can add it to this here. I am going to go ahead and select my revenue by specialization. So I'm going to add this chart to my dashboard. And again, I have something very visual. Maybe I want this to pop up on the other side over there. Oop, except I deleted it. Whoopsies. Let's try that again. My mouse is not working with me today. So I have a financial chart and revenue by specialization. Let's try it one more time. Oh, of course, there it is. There's 2. Here's where I can remove a component if I wanted to, and there's my revenue by specialization chart. I can see how much of these staffings are, how much revenue they're bringing to our business. Very easy from the component. If I hover over, it will give me the exact numbers directly there on the dashboard. The next type of component that we can add are performance card. As I mentioned before, you're not able to drill down into calculated account group performance cards. So if I wanted to know something like revenue per employee, if I add something like the revenue per employee account group, I don't know why that is doing that. Revenue. Let's look for per. Oops, employee. So here's my account group that I'm going to add. I'm going to do it for the current month, and it is revenue, so it is a currency. I want to use whole numbers. I can choose whether or not I want to compare it to a prior period or a budget. And then I get to choose an icon, and this is where stuff gets really fun. So I want to know if my revenue per employee is going up prior to prior period, then I want to get a smiley face there. And you can choose different icons. I'll show you a difference. And then you can choose whether or not you want to see a period difference or a percent change. I'm going to leave that at percent change here. And because I'm in this, I also can choose filters here. Because of my my demo environment, I need to choose the US all locations. You can choose to filter these performance cards and some other based at the component level or at the dashboard level. I'm going to leave it at the component level here. And let's hit save. You might not have to do that in your environment though. So my revenue per employee has gone up. So I get a nice green happy face. And if I try to drill into this, it will tell you that it's a computational account group. But I want to know what makes up this number. How can I do that? I can do that by adding some more performance cards. So I'm going to go ahead and add a performance card for employee headcount. You can see I've typed this a couple times, employee headcount. People are not currency, so I'm going to leave that as a number there. If it has gone up, it's going to give me a green arrow, and I want to see this as the difference. I want to know how many employees I've grown by. Oh, I've got to add my location again. I always forget to do that here. Whoopsies. I promise I know how to click we want to make sure it's the same locations as I'm using up there as I used on my last one. So there's my employee headcount. I'm going to drag and drop that over there. And then add my next performance card. And that is going to be revenue, because that is the other piece of that revenue, not just maintenance. I want revenue in full. Let's try this again. There we go. It is currency. Again, I want to show y'all different. So if revenue is going up, I want a green thumb. And I want to see this as a percent change, just like my other type. So I'm going to do all US locations and hit save. All right, so now I can drag and drop this over one more time. There's my employee headcount. Now I can drill down into both of these items that make up my revenue per employee. So I can drill down into those calculated performance cards. Another really great thing that you can add to dashboards are your records. So this is any list views within Intacct. So if I needed to be able to approve bills, I can choose a list view. If one exists, one doesn't exist here. So I'm going to have to select which details from those records I want. And maybe I just want those 4 items, and I'm going to hit save. So from here, I can add bill approvals. And then maybe part of my job too is that I have to approve expenses. Again, this is going to allow me to not have to jump around in those menus because those exist in different types of modules. So I'm going to put a state and an amount and just quickly add that component there. So now I can jump into approving expenses, approving bills without having to navigate to the expenses module, to the accounts payable module. Everything will be right there. Same thing for list views. So if I wanted to be able to just see my bills list view here, sometimes it's nice, and I can choose that list view that exists within the AP module already. So if I set up a list view that I really like, I can add that there. And again, it just keeps me from having to navigate. So it will bring me to the list view of the bills. It's bringing me to that all list view. And I have different user views that I can see there, and I can check those out. So again, not having to navigate a bunch of menus. Couple more components that we have available here, and one of them is a report. So these can be your financial reports, any custom memorized reports that you have built out, or if you do have the interactive Visual Explorer, you can also add those reports. I'm going to review a financial report. The report type and audience are just a way of further filtering down this component type here. I am going to add a profit and loss financial report of actual versus budget. I can choose whether or not I want to show all rows of the report or just a select number of rows. And I can choose whether or not I want to have dashboard filtering there. So let's go ahead and add that to there. As you can see, maybe I want this to be a little bit bigger above that revenue. And then this is where I could drill down further into those expenses. One last component type that we can add are smart links. So smart links are just HTML links outside of your organization. So for example, if I wanted my employees to have quick access to maybe a drive of some sort or something, something like that. In this example, I am going to use our website. I can add that to their dashboard, and from there, I can just click that open and look at that. There's our website. Straight from my dashboard, never had to leave. So I can do everything now that I need to do for my job. I can approve expenses. I can see when things are closed, and I can fully customize this dashboard. That is the power of dashboards. All right, so that is it. I've shown you everything. If you have any questions, now is the chance to ask away. I know I went pretty fast.
So we did have a question. So is there a way to set a dashboard as my home screen in Sage Intacct?
Yes, you can do that from your permissions. Let me just hop back in here. Okay, it's showing. So if you select your name in the top right and you go to My Preferences, there is a way. If I select, let's find home here, maybe. If you scroll down, oh, start page. That's what I did wrong there. You can personalize your display appearances to your start page here, and you can select dashboards or any of the other modules within Sage Intacct. So if you do have a dashboard, you can choose one that you wanted for your home screen or for your start page whenever you log into Sage Intacct.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank, thank you, everyone. See you soon.